Hey, Chad White here, once again, located at, let me try that again. Hey, Chad White here. I'm speaking to you from the Fortress of Solitude, located deep within the heart of the Amnesty International House of Pancakes. And this is Tips for the Broke-Ass Musician. I am a broke-ass musician. Pretty good chance you are too. Just trying to give you a little advice to see what's out here, what's available, how you might be able to get it cheap, and where to even start. Okay, today I want to talk a little about overdrive versus distortion. Now, overdrive can be used a couple different ways. Some pedals can make it sound like the solid state amp or what have you that you're plugging into actually sounds like a tube amplifier that's just about to go over the edge. And then there are some that are made to simply boost the signal, to really super amplify it, like adding another volume layer. And what those do is those will force a tube amp that's right on the edge. And by that I mean if you hit a chord gently, it rings nice and clear and clean. You hit that same chord hard, you get some crunch to it, kind of an Angus Young thing. Now if you've got that already on the amplifier, you hit the overdrive pedal and you end up with, in effect, another gain stage on your amplifier. It's a killer tone. It adds nice sustain, nice feedback. Most overdrive pedals are based on the Tube Screamer. This is a Soundtake Tube Screamer. Got this for 15 bucks. The one I had before, maybe 20 years ago, was $29. Screaming deal. These are easily modified. The guy I bought this from had opened it up and modified it to Keeley 808 Plus specs. 15 bucks. I'm not a miracle worker. You can find this kind of stuff too. Another type of boost, as I said, or overdrive, is a simple boost. This is the Electro-Harmonix Linear Power Booster. Found this at used.guitarcenter.com, $9. Now, I got it out of Oregon, so they didn't charge sales tax, and I had to pay $5 shipping. So this means $5. And I had it in my hands in 3 days. This is exactly what you think it is. It's just a booster. It's an additional volume. Now, if you're running this to a really clean sound, say a Twin or a JC120, as you roll it up, you will eventually start to hear some overdrive, a little bit of oomph. But for the most part, it'll just be a nice clean boost. You put this into an overdriven channel, or one that's almost about to push, you can do some incredible noise with this. Unity volume on my amps tend to be about 9 o'clock. Anything past that is gravy. Now, there's another type of booster, and the only commercially available one I can think of is the MXR micro amp. It does the same thing. It pushes the signal out. It boosts the signal. I don't have that. I have this early 80s Command Series preamp, which, from what I've read, is more or less the same circuit or similar circuitry to the micro amp, but there's also a tone knob, a nice treble boost, which can be really good. This, I believe, was either $10 or $20, one of the two. Screaming deal. And the thing is, you know where to look. Craigslist. Base your prices, if you have to, off what other people have bought, people you know, or what you see as a completed item when you do an eBay search. In other words, you'll be able to see what were people actually willing to pay for these things and what were people asking for and didn't get. There are all sorts of places, even a lot of thrift stores. They don't know what they got. And if you don't tell them, you can get one of these. There are also some pedals that ride right on the edge between overdrive and distortion. Pardon me. Got a couple of them right here, actually. This is a reissue of the 1973 MXR Distortion 2. Oh yeah, that's okay. The shadows are a bit much, so I'm not sure. This is a simple circuit. It's got a germanium transistor and the 741, which I believe was the first op amp. Op amps, if you're a pedal buff, the couple of them you know right away. There's a TL81, TL081, a TL072, and the JRC 4558, which is the Grand Kahuna, the big deal. Now, This is a distortion pedal. It says as much. Randy Rhoads used to run a guitar straight from this into the board, and then he would play that same lead. He would double track it, mic'd off of a Marshall cabinet. I believe it was a Marshall cabinet. But if you crank the output and you keep the distortion relatively low, it does serve as more of an overdrive. It is not a clean boost, but it's nice and it works nicely. And as you turn up the distortion, by the way, it will increase the highs. And that's the same with the M104s, the current model. Holy Grail, or at least one step away from the Holy Grail. This is the DoD 250. This is not mine. The original was gray with yellow paint. Second generation, yellow with the black. This is a U.S. reissue. This is not one of the ones from the early 80s. Well, it might be, actually. I have to open it up and have a look. This does not have the original 0741 op amp. I don't remember what's in here, but it is, according to what I've read, pretty common for an early 80s pedal. This is the same circuit, in effect, as the Distortion Plus. I believe this has a little more headroom, but again, this is not a clean boost. This will actually add some darkness to your fundamental sound. And one of the things about an overdrive versus a distortion is that distortion adds several gain stages, or at least it can. It is actually messing with the fundamental tone of your guitar, the actual heart and soul of those individual notes. You get some killer sounds, big muff, rat pedal cranked all the way, you can't go wrong, but they change the fundamental sound of your guitar. So when you roll back the volume knob using an overdrive pedal, in many cases it'll clean up almost to the point where you would think, hey, this is a nice clean amp, turned up just a hair. You roll it back up, boom. Distortion pedal, it's much less likely to happen. As you roll the volume knob down, what's likely to happen is you'll just hear the same sound but quieter, maybe a little less bass as you go. Not very satisfying, but then again, if you're using distortion versus an overdrive, the last thing you're thinking about is how does it sound with it rolled back. Got a few examples of distortion pedals here. I'm going to start actually with a couple of fuzz. Fuzz is a very simple circuit, and it's all gain, it's all clipping. This is called the FX52. It's from DoD. As a rule, I wasn't crazy about their overdrives or their distortion pedals, but the FX52, it's an excellent circuit. It does a nice imitation, more of the big muff than anything else. A little more controllable feedback, a little more low end. Not bad. In the box. Gift from my brother. Okay, next what we got, for whatever reason, I'm going to show another DoD. Now, here's the way the lineage went, just really fast. It was the gray DoD 250, the yellow DoD 250, and then in a pedal shape like this, the FX50. Then that became the FX50B. They changed the circuitry a little further away from the original. After that came the FX55, which really has no connection with the FX50, the 250, the DoD 250. The FX55 had a couple of later revisions, the FX55B and the FX55C. Both made in the States, both just god-awful. Those are called the Super or Supra, S-U-P-R-A distortion. Avoid them. This one, let's just call it the one that doesn't suck. I found one of these at the Tucson Guitar Center for $19. By the way, Digitech pedal, made by the parent company, oddly enough. Green, which is the universal language for this, is a Tube Screamer knockoff. The Bad Monkey, I've heard very good things about the Bad Monkey. The Tucson Guitar Center had one last weekend for $19.99. $20 for a really good pedal. It's more or less a Tube Screamer with separate bass and treble controls, a little more gain. Still, when you roll the volume back on your guitar, cleans up nicely. $20, people. Got a couple other examples. This is actually a fuzz. This is a big muff. However, this is the Black Russian. This is one, I believe, the last model that they made in Russia before they brought everything back to New York. Ta-da! Now, obviously, as Abe Lincoln says, you can't believe everything that you read on the internet. And he's dead, but he makes a good point. David Gilmour, according to various things I've read in honest-to-God print and online, was a big muff fanatic, starting around the time of Dark Side of the Moon. Had the old ram's head, I believe the triangulated knobs. Used that for some time, and then when the Russians came out, I believe he had a Civil War one. Nice sound, apparently. The new bass Big Muff is based on the Civil War design. And then, allegedly, he switched to a second generation Big Muff, what I call a Black Russian. This is a fantastic pedal. I have owned, let's see, I owned the little Big Muff. I owned the 79 Big Muff with the tone bypass. I owned 2 different NYC reissues and the Germanium Big Muff, which is kind of eh. This is the king. I can get Big Muff sounds. Plus, if I roll the sustain down to maybe zero position is 7 o'clock, let's say 8 o'clock, and boost the volume and tone to taste. This is fantastic, and it does clean up. It does clean up. On the other hand, you put the sustain up a little bit, switch to your neck pickup, comfortably numb. The tone change is not that simple, but I got this in a New York reissue through Craigslist ad. Guy wanted, I believe he wanted $30 for the New England, for the reissue, and $20 for this. I talked him down to $35 for both, and the reissue New York actually had a battery in it, so they got what they wanted. I haggled a little bit, but another screaming deal for next to nothing. This is the last one I'm going to show for now. We're already up to almost 12 minutes. I was trying to go under 10. This is another cheap pedal. It is called an Uber metal. This is a pedal Line 6 put out recently. Now, this module with all the knobs comes right out, and there are several others that Line 6 makes that can go in there. I've got a few of these, and you can buy the modules online. There are a few that Line 6 is still clearing out for $20. There are very few, but the Uber metal has a noise gate, all sorts of groovy things, but if you look where it shows the 3 types of distortion, the first one is metal. And I discovered after playing that by metal, they're talking about rainbow, they're talking about purple, they're talking about Sabbath, they're talking about 70s metal. I mean, Iron Maiden, for God's sake. This is a surprisingly good pedal. Keep the level relatively high, keep the drive relatively low. You got 2-band EQ with 3 including a parametric mid. These are going for $20. I got one in the stupid box online, $20 including shipping. People are insane out there, but they're insane with good deals. $20, people, worth every penny. And as long as you know how to remove the sucker, and it's easy, you can buy other modules. There's one for a compressor, best compressor I've ever heard in a pedal. There's also one called the Roto Machine. It is a perfect Leslie knockoff. And including the box, it's still going to be about 2.5 pounds. That's the smallest Leslie you'll ever carry. All right, I'm done for now. This is Chad White here in the Fortress of Solitude, located deep in the heart of the Amnesty International House of Pancakes. This has been Tales of the Brass Monkey. No, this has been Tips for the Broadcast Musician. Bye.